Greetings in the name of Jesus Messiah, King, Prophet, and High Priest of the earth. This is part 2. I will continue where I left off in the previous video. Judges chapter 4, verse 21 and 22, I will summarize, review. But Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, took in her hand a tent peg and a hammer, and she went softly to him and she went quietly to him and drove the peg into his temple, the man who was in her tent, who had violated her sexual honor by being in her private place, and wasn't her husband. It was a stranger, even though he was an ally. And it went, the peg went through into the ground, and he was fast asleep since he was exhausted, and he died. Verse 22, and behold, Barak was pursuing Sisera, and Jael went out to meet him. And she said to him, come, and I will show you the man whom you are seeking. And he came with her and saw that Sisera was lying dead with the peg in his temple. The analysis of this is even though the woman and her house were allies or at peace with this man, this ruler, this foreign oppressor of Israel, of Judeo-Christian, culture, she had promised or offered protection within the married woman's tent, hide under her skirt, so to say. When the man enters or invades a marriage bed area of a woman, then this man was fully justified this woman was fully justified and innocent to kill the man, this heathen, this pagan, or lawless ruler in his sleep. And she got away with it because Israel was conquering these foreign oppressors. She apparently was not jailed or anything like that. She was innocent. Another example, you say, oh, that's too harsh. God doesn't do that. God doesn't punish kings or rulers who take advantage of married women, innocent women. Well, let's go to Genesis chapter 12 to combat those things. This is Genesis chapter 12, verse 10. And there was, in the LEB translation, verse 10 through 20, and there was famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell as an alien. He was a foreigner in a strange land, for the famine was severe in the land where he was. Verse 11, and it happened as he drew near to enter into Egypt, said to Sarah his wife, now this was his half-sister. Back then there was no restrictions on incest. There wasn't a lot of people yet. The law and the commandments had not been given. So look, now I know that you are a beautiful woman, beautiful of appearance. Verse 12, and it shall happen that if the Egyptians see you, then they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me and let you live. Verse 13, again, this is an example of a pagan culture, a heathen culture. They see a beautiful woman. She's married, unmarried. I'm going to take you to bed and I'm going to ravish you and make you pregnant and all this stuff. And you got nothing to say about it. That's heathen cultures. That's heathens, pagans. Verse 14. And it happened that as Abram came into Egypt, the Egyptians saw the woman. She was very beautiful. Verse 15. And the officials of Pharaoh now saw her, and they praised her beauty to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into the house of Pharaoh. And he dealt well with Abram on account of her. And he had sheep, cattle, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. Verse 17. But then Yahweh afflicted Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues on account of the matter of Sarah, the wife of Abram. Verse 18. So people that say that God doesn't consider this thing evil, God I can do anything I want with another man's wife. That's not what Genesis says at the time of Abram, the founder of the Abrahamic faith. Verse 18, then Pharaoh called to Abram and said, what is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Verse 19, why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her to myself as wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go. In verse 20, and Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and then sent him and his wife and all that was with him away. Now, there are actually apparently 3 accounts in Genesis where the patriarchs, 2 of them involving Abram. This is the one here in Genesis 12. There's another one in Genesis 20, which I'm going to review. And also in Isaac in Genesis 26. And so I'm reading from a Bible Odyssey apologetic site. I'm going to quote some things from there. Giving all the, this is from that site, BibleOdyssey.org, talking about Sarah, Abraham, and Pharaoh. And he says, in all 3 episodes of these, the patriarch Abraham in Genesis 12 and Genesis 20 and Isaac in Genesis 26 is afraid that his wife's beauty would put him in danger when the couple arrived at a foreign kingdom, because he might be killed if the king desired his beautiful wife for himself. And in this apologetic, he says, they say, this is not an unreasonable fear given how ruthless royalty can sometimes be, And they give at least 2 examples. 1 Kings 21, 1 through 16, Queen Jezebel connives to have Naboth executed on trumped up charges so her husband Ahab can take possession of his vineyard. You know, that's the way some heathens work. They want something that you own. They make trump up charges. Let's seize your possessions. King David in 2 Samuel 11, verse 14 through 17, arranges to have Uriah killed in the front line of the battle so that he can hide his adulterous act with Uriah's wife Bathsheba. So, again, visiting a foreign land, a heathen land, where you could have a rational fear that, oh yeah, my wife's beautiful, and I don't want to say that she's my wife, and it's because the rulers will seize her and take her to bed and they'll kill me. Okay, so some heathen countries, they do that. So let's go to Genesis chapter 20. So this is the other account in Genesis 20. Abraham and Abimelech. 1 through 18. And Abraham journeyed there from the land of Negev, and he settled between Kadesh and Shur, and he dwelt as an alien or a foreigner in Gerar. And Abram said to Sarah, his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, so here's a king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Verse 3, and God came to Abimelech in a dream at night. And he said to her, look, you are a dead man on account of the woman you have taken, for she is a married woman. And Abimelech had not approached her, so he said, my Lord, God, will you not even kill a righteous people? Verse 5, did not he himself say to me, she is my sister? And she herself say, he is my brother? With integrity of my heart and with cleanness of my hands I did this. He did it. He didn't know. He was deceived. He wasn't told the whole truth. So he says, with integrity of heart, with cleanness of his hands, he did this. Verse 6, then God said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that in the integrity of your heart you did this. I also kept you from sinning against me, sinning against God. Therefore, I did not allow you to touch her, touch her in a sexual manner. Okay? Have intimacy with her. Okay? Verse 7, so now there's a time of restoration. Return the man, wife of the man, for he is a prophet, so that he will pray for you and you will live. And if you do not return her, know that you will certainly die, and all that is yours. So Abimelech rose early, verse 8. So Abimelech rose early in the morning, and he called all his servants and told them all these things, and the men were sore afraid. God spoke to the king in a dream, told him this. The man they had a two-way conversation with God in a dream, and the men around the king were afraid. Verse 9, and Abimelech called for Abraham and said to him, what have you done to us? And how have I sinned against you that you brought upon me and upon my kingdom a great sin? Do you have done this things to me that should not be done? Verse 10, and Abimelech said to Abraham, what were you thinking that you did this? So a little bit more meek and mild here, because he has a fear of God, what God would do to his kingdom. God had threatened his kingdom with death. So verse 11, and Abram said, because I thought surely there is no fear of God in this place. He thought it was a heathen and pagan land. There's no fear of God in this place. They will kill me on account of the matter of my wife. Verse 12, besides, she is really my sister, the daughter of my father, half-sister or whatever the relationship was, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. Verse 13, and again, this was before the law and the commandments was given to Moses, where very clear restrictions on sexual relations between close relatives was put into place. This was before that time. Verse 13, and it happened that as God caused me to wander from the house of my father, I said to her, this is your loyal kindness that you must do for me at every place where we come. Say concerning me, he is my brother. And Abimelech, verse 14, took sheep and cattle and male slaves or servants and female slaves or servants and gave them to Abraham. And he returned Sarah his wife to him. Verse 15, and Abimelech said, here is my land before you. Settle where it pleases you. Verse 16, and to Sarah he said, look, I have given 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother. It shall be an exoneration. This was restitution. You are vindicated before all who are with you. Verse 17. And Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his female servants so that they could bear children again. Verse 18, for Yahweh had completely closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of the matter of Sarah, the wife of Abraham. So the women were barren. Some of the translations say closed up the orifices of them. Possibly they also were constipated. They couldn't urinate. They couldn't excrement without great pain. There's a couple different translations, but this one says closed up the wombs. Another one says orifices, and they couldn't bear children, so forth. That would have been over a fairly long period of time before they realized that they couldn't bear children. So exactly what it was, but it was clear to the king, the ruler, that they were under a divine judgment plague, and they were told in a dream what not to do, what to restore, and they brought it to Abraham the prophet, and he prayed for them, and they were healed. This is end of part 2, and then I'm going to continue with part 3.